Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far, and ahead of what is going to need to be a massive losers bracket run from OpTic Texas if they want to make a good result of this tournament and build some confidence going into the World Championship. Lots of talk has been about exactly what has been causing OpTic's fall off the last couple of weeks and who really needs to turn up at this event if they want to turn it around. A lot of eyes have turned to Shotzzy and especially his search and destroy performance. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. Really upset the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that one. Plenty to dive into today. First of all, of course, we've got to talk about some of the teams getting out there. As Josh says here from 100 Thieves, it is Octane. He's kind of Kelly's doppelganger on the team, getting ready to fly out there. I think there was a lot of like travel delays and stuff that they had. Yeah, 3-hour delay. I think even Jacob said it might have got to 4 hours. So tough scenes, honestly, traveling anywhere you go right now. Seems like delays all across the world. Now, well, some teams, of course, have successfully made it there. Here's Zero and the guys in New York getting ready to go. Fix it for you free of charge. It says Skinny Form. I thought was pretty funny. And speaking of good content like this, the CDL actually might be doing some good content. Would you believe it? Here was Los Angeles Guerrillas point out 3 of the best cooking up something special in New York City. Stay tuned. Here, of course, we've got Miles, we've got Huke, we've got Simp on the right-hand side. So this is pretty interesting just because in previous World Championships, they've done a effective, what do they call it, dinner with champs or whatever, kind of effectively they get a round table type thing. They used to do it back in the day. It was really good. And I don't know if they did it Black Ops 4 or whatever, but you had like Mr. X and Scump and Crimsix and these type of guys would kind of sit down and talk about stories, and Slasher as well, like, you know, World Championship winners. So maybe they're going to do that one again. I think Miles is kind of the perfect host for that type of show, and maybe they're trying to find a time to do something like this. So yeah, maybe just 3 of the best is kind of strange if it's just Huke and Simp, both at World Championship winners. Be interesting if they get some other guys involved, because that was always good content to kind of listen to during the World Championship and before it. So I'm sure they're thinking about that one right now. So yeah, stay tuned for that one. And even I'm pretty sure the CDL will reply with this. So almost certainly there is something like that exactly going on. Let's talk challenges, right? Because Doug Sent Martin's been going absolutely well on a rampage the last few days, understandably so. Mutineers, honestly, like, it's kind of crazy to me the fact that a lot of these CDL organizations and even players themselves, like some Skies, Standy, even Gersh, of course, social media guy for the subliners and also the flank, like they've been supporting the challenger scene arguably more than the CDL has. Like, they were helping to fund teams to get out to the Boston events and try and do their best. And Mutineers, right, as an organization, is also trying to do something, right? They're putting up a challengers event. There's $3,000 on the line. But yeah, there's of course a pretty decent challengers event here going on in a few days' time as well at the end of July, right? So it's kind of interesting, really, that a lot of these organizations are seeing what's going on in challenges and thinking, well, if the CDL isn't going to help, we have to try and do our best as well. And but then again, there's other organizations that are like, well, look, if the CDL doesn't want to provide a good ecosystem for challenges, then we're not going to invest in an academy team because it's just not worth it at the end of the day. So obviously tough scenes, but you know, it's good that these organizations are trying to do what they can before the CDL bucks their ideas up, hopefully, with regard to challenges. And this, of course, is the Doug Sent Martin piece. So back in the 30th of June, he's talked to Spinner Spence, he's talked to Daniel Sy at the CDL and tried to, well, see if there's any sort of response to what might happen with the last chance qualifier World Championship format. The thing is, the CDL and Activision is so slow that, like, if anything's going to happen here, by the time it happens, it'll be like 2 days before the actual event itself, which is obviously not particularly good for anyone, right? So eventually Doug does respond and said that, okay, Spinner Spence responded saying they would look into it and will respond. That, of course, was on the 1st of July, a long time ago. And now he responds last night to say, update, complete radio silent. At this point, I feel like we as a community have voiced our concerns, created proper formatting, and sent extensive private emails to Spinner Spence at Daniel Sy and the Call of Duty League. This feels like a giant slap in the face, because it's not just like Doug's been complaining, he's come up with an alternative, like Prezi as well has been looking into kind of alternatives as well to suggest them to the league, and things they might want to potentially consider here that might well be plausible to actually pull off in a situation like this. But I mean, yes, Doug says he is absolutely fuming that they don't seem to say anything right, and even Doug comes out and says this, I'd love to make a YouTube video with you at Daniel Sy. That's the thing, the CDL commissioner, after doing all these community updates at the start of the season, has now effectively gone AWOL for a few weeks, right? We haven't really heard anything from this guy. Despite all this talk about the transparency and stuff earlier this season, we haven't really heard much the last few weeks. And Doug's like, look, you've been quiet this whole time, calling him out, and I think the community would love us to collaborate together and encourage these players for their future as a professional COD player. I live 40 minutes from the New York Major this weekend. Let me know. Let's put something together. So look, I doubt this is going to happen. I doubt this offer is going to be accepted. But look, it would be good to see. It'd be good content. Doug's good content at the best of times. But yeah, I kind of doubt that he's going to agree to this one. And even Doug goes on to say this, right? The COD League has made the worst decision since its existence. I'm at a loss for words. So I'll show a couple of clips here, really, of Doug talking about this, and also on stream where he kind of talks about he's been talking to some of the CDL guys, the guys putting on this tournament, and yeah, the DMs kind of speak for themselves.
It speaks for itself, dude. He runs challengers. My man Jonathan, shout out Jonathan. He's done an excellent job, honestly, just being a great representative.
All right, guys, despite the new format that we made for challengers, despite the lengthy emails, despite the public outcry, the Call of Duty Challenger Champs format will not be changed. It will only be the top 8 seeds from North America competing in the qualifier, and only one team gets to go to Champs. It's really disheartening for the community that this is happening right now. I'm really at a loss of words, to be honest with you. I feel so bad for everyone in Challengers who has to cut their season short and so early. There's so much talent in here that's not even going to get a chance to try to showcase their talent. And as for us on Boston Academy, we just beat the number 2 NA seed, the number 3 NA seed, the number 4 NA seed, the number 7, the number 12, and the number 13, all in one day on LAN. And we need to do that again, essentially, online. And we ended up losing to the team that got second, and that's also going to be a team that's in our tournament. So we have to beat everyone again just to make champs. We did it once. We can do it again. I'm not stressing over it too much. I'm really just concerned about the community right now. It really just makes me want to like become the GM of the league and fix all this, to be honest with you. But I'm a player, and I'm going to stick in my lane. So we're going to try to qualify. We're going to hope for the best, and if we don't qualify, our season's over. So wish us luck, guys. Peace.
So that's the thing, despite those DMs and what Doug's saying about the format staying exactly the same and nothing is being changed, apparently there is an update coming on this, as Spinner Spence actually says himself from the CDL side, that of course Doug has been in very close communication with, and I'm sure sending an email to probably 3 times a day, every single day, should have an update for challenges either late this week or early next week. Definitely understand sooner the better, but also have the New York Major this weekend, a lot are focusing on it. So that's the thing, I'm sure a lot of the CDL guys kind of focusing on the New York Major this weekend, but I'm guessing the LCQ is not too long after the New York Major. It's probably like the weekend after or the weekend after that, right? Which obviously isn't ideal at all in terms of if they're going to make a last minute change, right? But that's the thing, we've got different sources now, because Spinner Spence is saying that there's updates to come, but then there's other people saying that nothing is changing. So maybe the update from Spinner Spence and the CDL is just to say, yeah, nothing's changing. That's a great update, fellas. It's like, yeah, I suppose we'll see about that one. Let's talk about Major 4 then, right? So still only 2 teams somehow are qualified for the World Championship. There must be some storyline or some scenario where London don't qualify. Like, I think it'd be incredible. There'd have to be like Florida would have to like win, or like Minnesota would have to come like second, like Toronto would have to come third or whatever. Like there's probably a way in which London can somehow not qualify for champs if all the teams below them have like the perfect runs at the major, but even that being possible might not happen even due to the way the brackets worked out or whatever. So realistically, London, Seattle, Toronto, they should be okay, but it's still not necessarily guaranteed that any teams apart from FaZe and OpTic are going to qualify, because of course we know what Vanguard can be like. You basically just toss a coin and see what happens on the weekends. So I guess the CDL don't want to really speak too soon on this one, but of course yes, OpTic are confirmed to be going, but what exactly has been going wrong for them the last couple of weeks, right? 1 in 4 in the qualifiers, not looking so good at all. I think a lot of people have noticed really that it's kind of their SMG duo that hasn't been quite impactful as they have been, right? That's kind of what the guys were saying on the flank, that the SMG duo specifically, their kind of cohesion with iLLeY back in the team really hasn't improved that much at all, and that's really where they need to turn up going into Major 4.
I don't know what it is with this major right now, but something's off for OpTic on control.
But Ben, they said iLLeY was back.
I mean, to be fair to him,
he plays good,
bro. He's playing like one of their better players.
But I think the thing is here is it kind of speaks more about where this team really was, right? With or without iLLeY, this team has had a fall off, and I think you know whether you're an OpTic fan or not, like you kind of gotta realize that this team has fallen off, and they've especially fallen off massively in control, right? It doesn't matter whether they have ProLoot or iLLeY. This team's struggling in control, and that was their best win condition for like the first few months of this game, and it's just not there anymore.
I know there's probably gonna be a million like hater OpTic fans running threads about Pat on the Reddit after this show, but it's all good. I kind of agree with Pat. Like they really need to figure out the chem situation right now, especially in this series. The sub duo did not have a good performance. And it's really hard to pinpoint. I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch the VOD and really intently see like where disconnect is. The benefit now with OpTic, you know, they are gonna start losers bracket, which is unfortunate, but they're gonna get an extra day of practice because of that. They need to focus and figure out how to get more chemistry across the board with their team. This team is talented enough to make the losers run. But to your point, Pat, I agree. Like it speaks towards they haven't really improved that much with Interback, and they still have a long way to go.
So I wanted to compare these stats right over at breakingpoint.gg. This is from the Major 1 qualifiers, Major 1 itself, and the Major 2 qualifiers, what the stats look like. So of course, a lot of people are going to look at our points, but the Search and Destroy to me, and also the Control certainly, because it's the Control that's really fallen off for them, is particularly of note. I mean, during this period, they were 14 in 1 in Control. If I just look at the Major qualifiers right here, this is the Major 4 qualifiers, 1 in 4 in Control, Shotzzy with a 0.8, right? So I think it's really, Shotzy's hardpoint is not that dissimilar, but you've got to look at the fact that, okay, like Scump individually as well has not been great at all. Like, look at the Control KDs for Scump and Shotzzy. 0.78, 0.8, right, for Scump and Shotzzy combined. And also even in the hard points, right, look at, this is of course Major 4 qualifiers. The engagements for 10 minute stats for Shotzzy are strangely low. Like, he has about 49.7, whereas back at the start of the year he had about 51.1, which isn't too dissimilar, but I feel like nowadays they even play more Bacage. And yet he has slightly lower engagement numbers, so I feel like Shotzy's playstyle may have changed a little bit as the year has progressed to be, honestly, somewhat less impactful. And the Search and Destroy, honestly, was Shotzy's standout, right? During Stage 1, Stage 2, they were so good in Search. They were 13 and 7 in Search right here, which is a great record, given how difficult Search and Destroy is to win on a consistent basis. But Shotzzy was so impactful. Look at the first blood rate, look at the KD during this period, and also in the Control outside of Dashy, Shotzzy and Scum were just unbelievable in Control. Look at the engagement numbers as well. This is when OpTic were good. Nowadays, the Control KDs, of course, have fallen off, as in fairness, they pretty much have done across the board, so lots of work to be done there. But also look at the Search and Destroy, right? I mean, Shotzzy lately, the last few matches, has a 0.8 in Search, only a 13% first blood rate, like at 9 first bloods, 19 first deaths. Like, yeah, not particularly good on that front at all. So there's a lot to be talked about here, of course. I think it is the Control right now that's probably holding OpTic back, but just on an individual level, iLLeY hasn't really been that much different since he's returned than he was before. Scump, I think, has been marginally worse recently. Dashy's been pretty much the same. I mean, to be honest, Dashy always is good for a 1.2 or above, but in terms of like the impact factor, Shotzzy was the most impactful player in the game, and now it doesn't really feel like that anymore. So I feel like that's the key thing that this team needs to figure out and turn around, because when Shotzy's on form, as occasionally he is, I mean, they played a Bacage against Toronto and Shotzzy was dominating it. It wasn't that long ago when Shotzzy dropped like 42, 43 kills on Berlin and set the CDL record. Like, he does have incredible maps, incredible series, but I mean, it's a little bit more few and far between than you would like to see if you're an OpTic fan, and also in terms of Search and Destroy, he's not been anywhere near as impactful. So much so, actually, that he's now out of the kind of MVP ladder rankings, which I thought was rather interesting. But I mean, yeah, as it stands right now, there was a lot of talk last stage, like Chrome did this again after the Major 4 qualifiers. When we did this before Major 4 qualifiers, I think Cellium was just about number 1, then it was Shotzzy number 2, then Dashy, I think. Now, it's still Cellium, Dashy 1, 2, which I think makes perfect sense. Dashy's won an event, but Cellium on the whole, I think, has been marginally better and probably will win if the year ends as we kind of might expect it to. But if OpTic win another event, then of course Dashy gets really back in the conversation. But Cellium, I think, is the clear MVP candidate. The thing to me is that Simp is 3rd. I think I also put Simp 3rd in my list as well. Pretty sure this was my top 3. The Crone then kind of aggregated over what everyone said. But Simp's never realistically going to win MVP this year, because Cellium is just so far ahead of him in terms of FaZe that Simp is really never going to win it. But I still feel like he's there or thereabouts on recent form. Pred, I think, as well, is certainly, I think I put him 4th. And then I might have put even Shotzzy 5th, or maybe Shotzzy 4th and Pred 5th in current rankings. But it just goes to show how quickly things have kind of turned around for these guys. And if you guys are unfamiliar with their matchups, it's far from easy at all. They played the loser of Minnesota and New York on Friday night. Likely going to be Minnesota, but it's not a team that OpTic always have an easy time with. Minnesota, right? And especially if it goes Game 5 Search and Destroy, like a Minnesota probably the favourite in that type of a setting right now. And even if they beat that team, then they'll more than likely play Seattle in the next round, which is certainly going to be a matchup which, again, it doesn't really favour them on current form. So they're going to have a really hard time making a losers bracket run here. Intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below as to whether they can possibly pull that one off. Wanted to mention this as well in terms of rookie ladder, because Pred is certainly on the cusp as well of being on the MVP ladder. But to me, Pred, Sib, Gizmo probably. I think like Nero is probably 4th right now. Nasty is maybe 4th or 5th or whatever. But still, there's only kind of 5 names really in the conversation, I think, and it's still Pred and Sib that are going to stay 1-2, I'm pretty sure, for the rest of the year, unless London and Gizmo make an absolute, or Nasty in fairness, make an absolute monster run to the end of the year, or Nero on Boston Breach. It's certainly possible as well. Some credit actually here deserving to the CDL. So this season they actually are doing an award ceremony for Rookie of the Year. Of course, last year they did MVP, but I'm pretty sure there wasn't an official Rookie of the Year last season. This year there is. There's also a fan-voted All-Star first and second team, because the All-Star weekends got delayed. It was meant to be mid-season. They delayed it for some reason until practically after the World Championship, I'm guessing. It's like, that's probably going to happen after Champs. Probably still on Vanguard, unfortunately, but it is what it is, I suppose. And we're going to be able to vote for that from July the 17th. But yeah, someone, of course, is going to win the event. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below who it's going to be this time tomorrow. As you guys are watching this video, the event will be on and officially underway. But very much intrigued to your thoughts and all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit on the like button. Tells the YouTube gods it's a good video. And I was like, like you should see it as well, and upgrade the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.